Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
This is the 1 hour photo podcast by Studio 641, and I should have done that, but I'm not. I'm in my own room, and I'm just not used
Bill.
to it.
That's just like nothing. See
I'm
how
not
it
used
is.
to this. This is the first time ever.
Jordana, do you just want to like log off and like, play like Pictionary or something?
So things are a little different. We are doing our part of social distancing, and so we are doing a podcast very differently, where we are actually having a live, virtual studio audience, and we have such an amazing turnout, guys. For everybody that's turned up, I really do appreciate you guys hanging out with us. So we'll kind of kick
this is very different than the social distancing I did in high school.
This is true. This is true. So we have a very special guest. We have the amazing Sandra Coan. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for
Sandra,
joining
I feel
us.
like lucky that we get to talk to you now too, because I know you and Bill have had a few one-on-one chats. So
Yeah.
awesome
This is going to be so fun.
hang out here with you.
I know. We should just do this all the time. We can all just have like cocktail hour over
Cool.
while we're all stuck at home.
Hey, that works for me.
Yeah. So we'll just go around the table real quick. So Steven, how have you been, man? What have you been up to?
Okay, it's gonna sound weird, but pretty much the same thing I was before all of this happened, because I have a new baby and I'm doing that, mostly stay-at-home dad thing, So yeah, I don't know. I get up and hang out with my kid, and just nice because my wife is working from home now too, so I get some help. So that's cool. But yeah, other than that, sheltering and distancing and all of those things, and I don't know, just been actually the weather was finally nice in the Atlanta area for a minute, so we've been doing a lot of just like walking outside and trying to, have some good sanity and appreciate the positives in all of this craziness in the midst of it. And also,
that was one of the big things that I really wanted to focus on was with all the social distancing that's been going on as of late, was primarily because, getting this whole group, this social hangout thing together was just some kind of positivity in all this crazy negativeness, and, and just being able to hang out with people and just try to socialize in some kind of way is hugely important. So I'm totally right there with you, man.
But my my pile of undeveloped film is growing larger too. I'm getting caught up on black and white, but the color is growing larger and larger before I get back into the lab.
Very nice. So Jordana, what have you been up to?
A lot of Netflix. And yeah, I mean, similar to Steven, I guess. Not too much has changed.
You have a 7-month-old?
Exactly. That is what I was going to say. No, but like, yeah, I have a part-time at a restaurant, and I'm actually still working. We're doing takeout right now. So it's good. I'm really grateful to still, have some hours clocked in. But I gotta say, it's definitely a lot of anxiety just with everything in general, and now having to continue to go out and be kind of in the public and meeting people. So I mean, it's good though, and I definitely am grateful right now and being careful, wearing gloves a lot and stuff like that. But yeah, when I'm home, it's kind of like, what is going on? Like, just kind of hard not to be overwhelmed, but doing my best.
Yeah. Well, cool. I know it's been tough, but have you gotten any photography, or you got any like film backlog that you're working on, scans or anything along those lines?
I do have one shoot that, yeah, I haven't released, so to speak, yet. I'm almost done editing. I'm trying to decide if like any publications are still like accepting things right now, and I might try to submit it. Otherwise, I'll just be posting it. Yeah, I've been like really quiet on my personal or my like photography, like social media. I kind of tend to like recede when I get anxious. But I do have plans to kind of this week, get some things together, make some posts, and maybe even get on stories and stuff and talk about, I think this whole thing is like bringing us all together, and I don't want to just be like, peace out, everyone. Like I disappeared. Like I'm gonna try to get back out there a little bit this week. So, and it's definitely, it lifts the spirits, even to see all you guys here. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I know a lot of or photographers in general in the industry that they just had weddings that got postponed or canceled or anything, and it's been really crazy to hear all the different stories. I have a lot of friends that are in the filmmaking business, and they were just like, "Oh, I just got laid off," and it's just like, "Oh my gosh, that's terrible news to hear," And so it's a real thing. I mean, it's really impacting a lot of people. So hopefully this will bring a little bit of happiness for people.
My cousin's wedding was this past weekend, and I was going to shoot it, and but they ended up doing a totally different location, just in their hometown, just their parents, and I felt really awful that I couldn't be there. And I mean, she was able to get someone to take some pictures, so I'm glad about that. But yeah, this whole thing is crazy. She live streamed it though on Facebook, and it was really sweet, and I cried. So so that's good. But yeah, I feel for the people in the industry that are feeling it, but also the people, brides and even people who want family portraits or newborn or anything like that. That's kind of like people are canceling.
Yeah.
Which it should be, I think. I don't know. It's just a crazy kind of catch-22. Kind of don't know what the right answer is in any of these situations, but we're all like navigating that together. So
yeah. Well,
finding kind of some solace. Sorry to interrupt, Belle, but just in the fact that we're all feeling this and we all have these emotions, but this is literally the entire world. Like the entire world is going through this. And like, as weird as that sounds, for me, there's comfort in that, because it's not just me. It's not just my business, just not just you. It's literally everyone.
Yeah.
Which is unprecedented. I mean, that's kind of amazing, in a way, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It is comforting to me as well. Yeah, we're definitely not alone in our feelings, and they're all validated. So
Absolutely.
So I just unfortunately received a message from Steven. His internet went out, so
Oh no.
So he's working on resetting everything. So anyway, so Sandra, you are joining us here. First of all, I want to say thank you for taking time out of your schedule to hang out with us and tell us a little bit about what's going on. We had a chance to hang out in Vegas. Just I swear, it feels like it's been years already. I know.
That was like when the world was a different place, So
yeah,
naive and young and fresh faced. I know.
Well, there was a hot minute where I was kind of worried because I was flying right when things were starting to get a little crazy. And so I was really concerned as far as like, oh geez, I hope I don't come down with something, and work in a corporate environment, so that stuff can like spread like so fast. So like it was really nerve-wracking for a little bit after that. But thankfully everything was catch up with what has been going on with you, and you've been doing some speaking engagements, and you got a book that's on the way out. Well, the digital version of the book is on the way out, so we'll definitely talk about that. So
hey, sorry about that, guys.
Hey, you're back.
Good, welcome back.
Is it done? Did I miss everything?
We were literally just about to start the interview.
All right, cool. So Oh yeah, let's do the introduction all over again. And you guys aren't going anywhere, right? No, I'm so sorry about that, you guys. Of course,
It's all good.
my internet's been working fine all day, and then decided to be squirrely right now. So
All good.
yeah, just don't mind me. Go ahead.
Okay, as you were.
That's right.
So Bill was just asking what's going on with me. So yeah, well this year it started off pretty awesome. Like I spent the good part of last year writing a book. So for those of you in the audience who aren't familiar with me or my work, I am a newborn and family and portrait photographer based in Seattle, Washington, and I shoot in studio exclusively on film and exclusively with studio lighting. And I have a way of teaching lighting that shows people just how to create really soft, very natural looking light with strobes and flash, really just using a one light setup. And so that is what I wrote the book about. So it's called Crafting the Natural Light Look. And what I'm really excited about this book, and I'm so grateful to my publishers, is that they encouraged me, not only like allowed me, but really encouraged me to write this book as a film photographer. So it's a commercial book. It's out on Amazon. It's going to be in all the camera stores. And it's a book on lighting. And yet there's huge sections of it that are dedicated to film photography. And
Nice.
I can't remember the last time that happened. Like when's the last time there's been a commercially published book on something having not to do with film photography that mentions film photography? So I was really grateful to them for that just kind of creative license. And so the book is my approach. It teaches people how to create natural looking light with strobes and flash using just one light. And, it's written, there's sections of the book that are specifically for digital photographers and sections of the book that are specifically for film. And it was set to be released in April. But it's also being
So-
in China. So
Oh, no.
now we're looking at, I think my last word was that it's going to be out in June, July. But the Kindle version's available now. So if you want the Kindle version, you can get that on Amazon and read that now. But the print version is going to be coming out later. So that's exciting. And then in addition to that, I do speaking, and I was, doing the circuit this year. And then I also teach an online education class that teaches lighting to film and digital photographers. So that's what I do. And
I think we just lost Sandra for a second.
I think we did.
Well, she's way more important to this than I am.
okay, there you go.
Okay.
I'm like, because I think I don't know what's going. I'm gonna blame Steven. He's bringing the internet.
You're not wrong. I really do think it's my fault. The internet heard me talking bad about it earlier, and it just decided to get.
What? A little bit.
Are you there?
I'm here now.
Yeah, I think we're freezing up a little bit.
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna keep
Okay, so-
talking, and then if you
Yeah, that's
can't
for the best.
hear me, just like wave down. You know me, Bill knows me. I'll just go.
Oh, nod.
But
Smile, nod.
yeah,
Let's see.
So yeah, you keep dropping in and out.
take it. Oh, dang it! Here, let me see what my. Oh, you know why? Because I just switched to the neighbor's Wi-Fi for. Let me get on ours.
So during self-isolation, how to steal your neighbor's internet. That's the new book.
Okay, I'm on it. Okay, I'm gonna keep an eye on it because it loves to go to my neighbor's Wi-Fi for some reason. I'm not sure. But can you hear me now? Is everything okay?
Yeah, you're great now.
Okay. So
So you're a photographer, and
photographer, I do lots of things. But what I was saying is I do feel like if we can step away from the fear right now, which there's a lot of, that we have an opportunity, all of us, to slow down, to do those things that we've been putting off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm doing a pop-up Facebook group for my community that anybody's welcome to join. It's free, but I'm just talking about business stuff all week. And that's what I was saying today. It's like we can choose to be scared or we can choose to lean into the situation and do the work, you know, update your website, go over your portfolio, practice your lighting skills. I can't tell you how often I hear from photographers that they want to learn how to use lighting, but they don't have the time. And I'm all, well, guess what?
A bunch of time there,
Right?
Learn a new skill, right? I actually brought home all my lighting equipment and I'm going to learn a new skill. I've decided I'm like, I'm going to learn how to use gels, not because I ever use them in my work, but because why not?
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
fun, you know? So I'm really trying to tell people, like, like what we were talking about earlier. It's like the I think the urge is real to get scared and to close down. But I feel like now more than ever, especially if you run a business, you need to be seen. You need to be showing your people that they can still buy gift certificates from you. They can still schedule you for the future, that you're still around. And if you have the opportunity to make money right now, then I kind of also feel like that's a moral obligation to make money because then you can spend it. And we all need to be spending money just as
Right?
much as
Yeah.
we need to be making it in order to keep things going. So that's kind of my spin. That said, I've been drinking way more than I normally do. I've had
Excellent.
moments of like total panic. So I mean, like I'm normal too, but I'm also really trying to be optimistic about this.
I like that. That's about like the making money thing because I had talked to Steven and Bill the other day about how I was kind of feeling guilty to kind of try to capitalize on this situation, like I don't know, offer deals or whatever. But yeah, like if no one is making money, no one can put money back in. And I'm at the position where I feel like, yeah, like scared to like, support any of my other artist friends or friends in the restaurant industry,
Yeah,
which are both of my industries, I guess, because they're just like really
yeah, they need
right
it.
now. And I can't, yeah, and they need
Yeah,
it.
I think it's like it's your obligation. If you can make money, it's your obligation. And it's also a great way to serve your people. Like, you know, they need something to do. We're all stuck in our homes. So if there's some way that you can offer something, like as photographers, right? We all have so much to offer. So many businesses are switching to an online model overnight, and they're going to need brand photos. They're going to need images for their Instagram. They're going to need things that we are uniquely qualified to provide for them. And that's going to help them. That's a service. So don't hide, don't be scared, don't feel like marketing yourself or your services is bad right now. Like that's what you owe to your community. So you can go order takeout, so you can, you know, order something online from your favorite local store. I mean, that's what I think anyway. We can discuss.
No, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, like Jordan and I, we were talking about that the other day, how that it it does kind of like spread out and spread around and stuff. Like, how can you support the people that you care about and want to still see or be there and be in business when all the dust settles if you're, flat broke yourself?
Exactly.
I think I love a lot what you said, and I've been thinking about this, talking a lot with my wife and everything too, because she's just an awesome sounding board and way more thoughtful than I'll ever be. Um, but that this time right now it's not a time like the more we can actually be don't be proud right now that we can actually be open, like we're talking about this, like with the stuff we're struggling with our mess,
Mhm.
with like how sometimes we're feeling great because we don't have to put on real pants today, and then sometimes
Me every day.
yeah, exactly. um that's me most days, even when there's not a pandemic going on.
Yeah, yeah.
But Yeah, but then also feeling really low. I mean, about certain things. Like I'm one of those photographers. I had a wedding next week or this coming Saturday that got postponed, and
Hmm.
I have stuff coming up this summer that I'm really excited about shooting in Western Canada. I have no idea if I'm going to get to go do it or not. I don't know when this
Yeah,
is going to like be okay. Um,
yeah.
and
And
I think
that's
it's
super scary. Like when you see
yeah.
that revenue go away, that's terrifying.
It is, absolutely. But I think you're right. If we have a chance to do something, whether it is um, selling or even just sharing work, like I've got a
Hmm.
ton of landscape. I've been sitting on a bunch of landscape images that I've been talking about doing a print sales of for years, and now's a
Hmm.
great time.
Now's a
Um,
great time. And let your clients know. Like I'm encouraging my community to send an email out to your clients and tell them the things that you can do for them. I'm working on putting together, I'm calling it the every camera course, just like basic light composition class for my clients that they can do with their kids while we're at home. Like let's just look at
awesome.
light. Let's look the way like just little things like that that we all can do, that's going to provide value to our people, but also keep our family safe and keep money coming into us. I think those are all valid. So, right, like you beautiful photos, sell them. Don't give them away for free. That's value to somebody. That gives people joy.
That's
I'm telling
exactly
my
what I've been
my
doing.
people like, right, like or like send a note out to your clients and say, let's order some prints or an album of your kids and send it to their grandparents because they can't get out of the house and that's really lonely and scary. I mean, these are little things that we can do that can potentially have big impact. We all know that as photographers, what we do is so much more than just taking pictures, right? Like our work is important. And I think that as silly as it sounds, like our communities need us right now to be telling those stories and to be bringing hope and to be doing those things.
And to just like sharing beauty, like we see so much like in the
Yes.
like the news cycle and social media is just that echo chamber of like bad news and fear. Like, how much like how great is it to see some good news or to see some way you can support somebody? Like, yeah, you're saying our clients, our friends, whoever, people that are in our network,
Hmm.
don't want to see us go away.
Yeah.
I think people have like I'm trying to support friends who are like making t-shirts or a restaurant I love or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Just because, it, because I love them and I want them to be around in a few months. And
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think if we just allow ourselves to be a part of that too, that we'll see that other people feel the same way about us.
Yeah, I've been trying to help friends out and acquire some of their work. And it's one of those things that I hate seeing it like this, but very grateful that I'm still very busy with work, and so it's still
Don't feel bad about that, man.
I
Yeah,
know, but
that's you're the people, Bill. Like you guys with the
That's
steady day
great.
jobs that can actually like support everybody else right now is what.
yeah, and that's
Totally.
and I've been making it a point that it's like I've pieces of work that I've seen that I was like, oh wow, that's a really nice picture, and it's now available for sale. I'm like, you know what? I want to take this opportunity. I really like this picture. This is something I certainly can see hanging up on my wall. And it's funny. I had these two. They're nice Ansel Adams. They're not actual Ansel Adams prints, but they were like, something I got from the museum. And I'm thinking like I can, when these images come in, I can replace them and put them up like and
Mhm.
display them proudly right over my head because these are works that are from people in the community that I'm truly inspired by. So
Oh, I
it's a
love
groovy
that.
thing. Yeah. So
And there's
And I
I
mean,
don't
oh, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, Bill. I don't know if anybody saw, but Bellamy Hunt, the Japan camera hunter, even started doing a thing today on Twitter.
I didn't see
If
that.
you just tweet at him, if you or somebody you know is like running a special, selling prints, selling something that's related to photography or film photography or something to kind of help you keep your head above water right now, tweet at him and he'll retweet it to his
Oh,
thousands
that's
of
so cool.
followers. His whole thing was
So,
like, we're all in this together.
are, like I was saying earlier, it's like literally the entire world. And along those lines, like, so I love history. I was actually a history major in college. And
Nice.
so
I
I
love
can't
history
help
too.
thinking, I know, right? Like, and I can't help start thinking about, we look back now on photos taken during the World Wars or during, these things. Like, like, it gives me goosebumps talking about, but I'm curious slash excited slash a little terrified to see the art that's going to come out of this. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be different, but we're all in our homes with our families. Like, I mean, like, entire cities quarantined and shut down and like all over the world. I mean, don't you think that's just like fascinating? And I can't wait to see what it's going to produce. That we're going to be that hundreds of years from now, people are going to be talking about and looking at.
Yeah, I think it's really fascinating too. I mean, I've seen people posting photos of Times Square or even just of like
Yeah.
the highways here in Atlanta that are never without traffic and are now just like empty of cars.
Mhm.
Um, and even just walking around like the neighborhood and stuff where I live, it was a beautiful day on the weekend, and there was normally the sidewalks would be packed with people, and it was just like a ghost town.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really, really interesting. I don't know. It's hard to think in that mindset a little bit too because we're so wrapped up in being present in it. But then also, like, yeah, where's that line? Where do you? I get the dilemma now of like photojournalists, and of like war photographers, and of people
Mhm.
who are like in the trenches. Like, how do you turn the camera on something that you're a part of like that? That is
Mhm.
so kind of
Right.
just visceral in a lot of ways.
Right.
And
That's
for some
interesting.
people, it's really cathartic. Because I mean, I went through. I'm thinking now about. Sorry, I'm just processing a lot of stuff myself. Um,
That's all good. We all are.
and I had coffee before this too. So, but yeah, I mean, so when my son was born, it was a really complicated delivery. He was in the queue for a couple weeks. We didn't know if he was going to come home at first, and I used photography as a way to process through that and a really cathartic thing. Even just taking some Polaroids in the hospital, in the room where we were recovering from everything, and developing film from like the first few hours we got to hold him before he had to go into the NICU, and just like all these things that just helped me heal in a lot of ways. Um, and I think that I just want to encourage everybody who's on this, who's listening, that the medium of photography allows you to do that. It's,
Mhm.
it's an incredible art form to be able to just pick up a camera and do something can be incredibly cathartic. Even if you just feel like you're just taking a picture of that corner of your bedroom where the light comes in every morning, but now you just noticed it because you can lay in bed for an extra 10 minutes or,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. So I think there's a lot of value and merit in that. And I
Yeah.
think it'd be
And I'm
really,
so curious to see where it goes.
yeah, absolutely. I think, Matt Day, if anybody knows him, like hit on his whole kind of ethos of document your life,
Mhm.
at the perfect time. So I think we can take a lesson from that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a very good point.
Before we move on, though,
Like, master your indoor lighting so that
yes,
you can nail those
Yeah.
images.
I feel like okay. I definitely was channeling you or trying to with my son a couple weeks ago. I set up set up an off-camera light. I had my RB67 with a Polaroid back. I'm like trying to get him falling over, and like I'm like, okay, is this kind of looks like what she has set up? I really should get her book now. Um,
Yeah, it's really good.
but before we move on history, have you ever listened to the Hardcore History podcast?
Mhm.
Oh, it's so good. All right, I need to go back and listen to that again because it's like 6 hour long episodes at a time.
Or what about drunk history? That's like my favorite.
Drunk history is wildly entertaining.
I know, right?
Well,
So
cool.
good.
Well, I'm going to shift up the gears a little bit. So,
I'm gonna shift away from drunk history.
Well, because
Something more
be in the
relevant.
drunk
Well,
present.
good,
So
good
yes.
pivot. Good pivot, Bill. Okay.
So, Sandra, I do have a question for you. You have
Sure.
changed up your lighting setup a little bit. I'm a little interested to hear about it. Unfortunately, at WPPI, wasn't to really well leave early for to head back home. I'm really curious. What's the new lighting setup like, and Tell us a little bit about it.
Are you talking about my new use of the modifier and all that kind of
Yeah.
situation? Okay, so
Yeah.
basically, the basic the same. So I've always done one light, and I basically always have that one light set up at like 45 degrees to my subject. And there you have it. That's my 200-page book right there. Like, congratulations.
Sweet. All right,
But
cool. I can
it was
save money
actually,
on that. No.
and you're welcome. But so, and I always use like the traditional, like I'd use a big softbox or an octodome. And actually, while I was writing the book, I wanted to do a section on the different shape modifiers, right? And so I just started buying tons of modifiers, just fun. And I got this Westcott parabolic umbrella. And I thought I was getting the black on the outside, white on the inside one, that I would normally shoot with. But on accident, I bought the shoot through, the big white parabolic.
It was an
And
accident.
so instead, yeah, it was total accident. And so I was like, let's just see. And so I started playing around with it. And instead of shooting it like a shoot through, I set it up like a parabolic. So like it was bounced like I would normally do.
Interesting.
And it just blew my mind because what happens is that some of the light still bounces and comes back. And then of course you lose a lot of light out the back, but then what that does is it bounces off your windows and it bounces off your walls and it just like fills up the space. So you get the double whammy of the big soft from the parabolic and also the big soft from the bounce. And I just love it. I just like it, the difference, because then of course I was like, well, now I have to test all of them. So I went back and I bought the black and white one and the black and silver one, and I did all the tests and all the things. And the difference is subtle, but I see it. So I kind of became obsessed. And what was fun at WPPI is that I got to test that same setup on the showroom floor at the Westcott booth. And because, sometimes you think, oh, it works in my studio because I have these big white walls and of course the light's going to bounce around and I have all this space. Well, then suddenly I'm on the showroom floor on the Westcott booth. Their shooting space was really small. It was 8 feet by 8 feet. So it was like this little box, and with a 7-foot parabolic umbrella, it takes up like even the Westcott people were like, I don't think this is gonna fit. And I was like, it's gonna fit, just trust me. And I'm in there and I was shoving it up. But and so there wasn't all the bounce, right? Because you're on a showroom floor. So like that light's going everywhere. But still just that really soft parabolic effect that you get by using it that way was you could still do it. So I was shooting tethered, never do that. Digital, never do that, right? I was like so out of my element, but the images looked like my photos. Like it was so fun to show like you can really just do this anywhere. And so along those lines, one of the things that I'm trying to do special for my community right now is like the people who are in my course, my online course, I have a private Facebook group for them. And so I told them, it's like, okay, I'm bringing all my lights home. I've shown you how to do this in a studio for years. We're going to do it all in my house. So I'm going to be doing all the lighting setups in the bathroom and in the basement and in the, like showing you all the places, because that's one thing I really learned from doing it at WPPI. It's like, oh, it works anywhere. But so that was a really long answer, Bill. But so that's like changing my lighting setup, honestly, was an accident.
That's amazing. That is a fantastic story.
Yeah, there really is.
Because we were talking about this.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
We were talking about this a few episodes, episode 2 back, where you pretty much like created your own sunball essentially with that thing. And we've been really enjoying the lighting setup that has been coming out of it. I'm really curious, with what you've been talking about with this lighting and all that stuff and shooting film, have you gotten a lot of questions from the maternity and the newborn scene as far as like your camera setup, and are they finding out, oh wow, that's really interesting that you're shooting film? Like, have people been surprised by that?
Yeah, a lot of people are, especially at places like WPPI that draws a more digital crowd. I had a platform talk this year, and we probably had 400 people in the room. And at the end of a talk on lighting, every single question was about film. Like just people like, wait, why exactly do you do this? Or how do you do this? Or like it was really interesting to see the curiosity.
Yeah, I shoot a lot of strobe on film, and yeah, people are just like how? Like everyone's
Like
mind
what?
is I know. And I'm
It's
like,
literally what we did for like 200 years. Yeah.
I'm like, this is not new, and people are still doing it today. And also, though, it's really not that different. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but it's the same that you would do on digital. You just can't see it. Like that's
Yeah,
it.
you meet her a little different and then you're done.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about blowing out your highlights as bad if you're on color negative.
Yeah.
I feel like it's more forgiving than shooting digital on strobe. You just,
It's more fun.
yeah.
It's way more fun unless you're shooting the Ektachrome and then it's not. But other than that, it's totally more forgiving.
So let's talk about that Ektachrome since you were
I'm obsessed.
due the beta tester. So tell us about. I know you got to shoot the 35, and then they asked you to shoot the 120 again. I know Kodak professionals listening on this, so Molly, I know.
Better watch myself.
No, I
I'm
mean,
listening very carefully right now.
Excellent.
Molly knows I love my Kodak family, and I'm obsessed with the Ektachrome. So I was obsessed with Ektachrome when it was in 35, and now that it's like the 120, all the things that were incredible about it in 35 are just that like it's like Spinal Tap, and it's like turned up to 11. It's just like the fine grain texture and the color retention. And what's fun about shooting Ektachrome, like you were like, especially in studio with strobes or anywhere really, but in studio with strobes, is that it's so literal. It is so like, this is, you see what you see is what you get. And it's really fun for kind of more editorial work. Well, Bill, you did beautiful work in studio with the Ektachrome in the 120, but you know what I mean? It's like you see it and then you get the film back and it's exactly what you saw.
absolutely.
It's incredible. Like the color retention and the skin tones are just like bananas.
I'd love to hear a little bit about your creative process, like when Kodak had asked you to shoot this, because your images are showing up all over the place. Whenever Kodak Ektachrome 120 is mentioned, the picture of the splits, blue and the yellow, and and with the model right in the middle is all over the place, and it's such a cool experience to have somebody that I know that is all over the place and representing a brand that's so iconic. What was some of your when you got this film like? What was your thought process like? How did you know what you wanted to shoot? Like what were the
Well, I was lucky because, yeah, I had done the 35 millimeter test, right? And so I knew at that point what to expect from the film, because when I did that test, it was like, I don't know, like I was doing a lot of um, exposure tests and just really trying to get a handle on what it had to offer. But when they sent the 120, I was like, oh, I know this film now, right? Like, and so then I knew all the good qualities about it. And one of the things that's so fun about Ektachrome is that what it does with color, like it just like pops color like crazy, but also it can pop those colors and maintain skin tone, which is really nice. And so I just decided that I was just going to have fun with color. And so what I did is I contacted a friend of mine who's a florist, and I told her, I was like, my vision is I want to do monochrome, right? So I want to do reds and yellows and blues and orange and all these colors. We bought all the backdrops, and then I want big crazy floral pieces on models' heads to match the colors. And then I just want to do this like whole color story. So we had so much fun at that shoot, like a little too much fun. It ended with karaoke and like all sorts of crazy things on the street. But we had so much fun.
That sounds like the right kind of shoot.
But part of the fun was just like it's such a divergent from like what I normally shoot, which is very simple, stripped down. And so we just had so much color. So yeah, that one where we have the blue and the yellow and she's an orange, that was like the last frame of the entire session. We shot like 10 rolls that night, and it was all at night. It was all done after dark because everybody had to get off work and I had to get my kids to bed. So we were shooting those up till midnight, right? And and yeah, it was one of those things where what I did is I set up like color stations. So I just had rolls of paper taped to my studio around. So we had red, pink, blue, yellow. I think that was it, and white. And the blue and the yellow just happened to be next to each other. And she was wearing orange. And so we were like, oh, let's put you in the middle. And um, got that shot literally like last couple frames of the whole shoot.
Awesome.
And I love the one of red too, the red one of my friend Gabby, where she's got the red flowers in her hair and she's in the sweater and the red. Like to be surrounded by that much red and still have those pretty skin tones is amazing.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
it was fun. I have some behind the scene pictures on my blog, so you can see the back.
Oh,
back
cool.
end of
Yeah,
those.
we'll have to get a link for that. We'll definitely share that for everybody.
I know, Bill, I think we got a few some community questions and stuff here. I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to talk about before we, we stopped talking for once.
No, I was actually going to go ahead and start to open it up for question and answer. So I'd love to see. Let's see here. I see we got a whole bunch of questions in here. So we'll kind of just start off with the questions that were dropped in here. So Ted, if you want to go ahead and take yourself off mute, and you're more than welcome to go ahead and ask Sandra a question. That was from.
Wait, did we have a question from?
Oh, I guess.
I can't hear anybody.
Okay. Well, we'll just go ahead and start it open with a question and answer. So if anybody has a question for.
Well, I know, Andre, you had some stuff you wanted to talk about real quick, as far as like Ectochrome and things. So I think he maybe had a question about that. Let's go ahead and unmute yourself there, Andre.
Hey guys, less of a question, but just something that I think that will make not only Sandra happy, but hopefully a lot of other people. I have been given clearance to heavily tease or hint at the fact that Cinestill may be working on something relating to some slide film stuff and announcing it in the not too distant future. Something a little different, something.
Somebody tweet this.
Something giving a little bit more creative control to shooting slide film. I mean, who wants only 6 stops of dynamic range or anything like that? So it's about all I'll say for right now. But just to everybody that's stuck at home with rolls of slide film that they've shot over the past months, or really wanting to get out of their house and stay away from everybody but shoot some cool film photos on slide film. There may be something exciting coming soon.
Well, listen, if you want to send me some to play around with, I'd be happy to do that.
I see that roll, Michael.
I think I could do that, Sandra. I think that's something that we can arrange.
Okay, that'd be awesome. Stuck at home for 6 weeks.
You sound so excited. Very cool.
All right, I'm going to put myself back on mute now that I've gotten off my soapbox.
That's super exciting, though. I mean, yeah.
You're all good.
Send you some like DM questions later. Are you drinking a cocktail too, Andre?
No, I'm just drinking some water.
Oh, I mean, same. I'm just drinking water also. I meant to say.
Does like Aldi brand LaCroix count as being fancy? So.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So, anybody else have a question for Sandra? All right. Going one.
Okay.
Hey Sandra, Alex Oakes here from Classic Camera Revival. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing my best, working from home, trying to stave off the cabin fever. I took a chance to check out your work. Fantastic. The question I have is, how do you overcome the daylight balance of film with your flash photography?
I like, as far as like controlling like the temperature on my lights or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't even worry about that because
All right,
like,
next question.
I like so
Fantastic.
my whole system and why I love the way I teach is like, let's just keep it as easy as possible. And I know that I've had problems with white balance and stuff in the past when shooting with my digital camera, but
Okay.
film is daylight balanced. The lights are daylight balanced. It's like two great tastes that go great together. I find it's like so much easier with film. And honestly, I've taken the same shot side by side, one on film, one on digital. And just the look that you get with film is so much softer and so much cleaner because of that issue that, I mean, I don't even worry about it.
Nice.
And just
Yeah.
to add to that, for clarification's sake, Sandra, you're not trying to overpower like window light or anything. All of your light is from that strobe.
Yeah, I do have windows in my studio, but I run my blinds, and then because I'm shooting at a shutter speed of 1/25th, what I've found is that in my space, that's high enough to block out all the ambient light anyway. So I can shoot at that with all my overhead lights on and the windows open, and if I'm at 125, I'm fine anyway.
Wow, really cool.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else? You guys are more than welcome to jump in.
Yeah,
And
Kevin, go ahead and unmute yourself there.
Hey, thank you. Sandra, I have a question for you. You spoke earlier about um, people getting out there, using this time in a productive way to, if you want to start selling something, if you want to start trying to get your photography out there and you've never had the time to do it. Um, just about a week or so ago, I had a show which is totally new for me. We have a new community dark room in Chattanooga, and I have dived into that really heavily, really having fun with it. And the owner of the dark room asked me if I would be the first person. They had a collaboration between a dark room and a local tap room in town that they were going to do a show on the second Saturday of each month featuring a member of the dark room. And I was very flattered. She asked me to be the
Yeah.
first one, which was very frightening because I'd only returned to the dark room about a month and a half earlier and was still working things out. And it was very frightening, but it happened. Only thing is, it happened right at the beginning of the cycle, right as things were starting to shut down. So I made about 15 prints, black and white prints, and they are actually still hanging at the tap room, which is closed at the moment. I have to go there and get those. But here's my question. Now, I'm a rank amateur, passionate about it, love what I'm doing, but it's not and never will be, I'm pretty sure, a professional, a way to make my living. Nevertheless, I'm proud of what I've learned with my prints, and I'm proud of the successes that I have. Therefore, I want to make the actual prints available to sell online.
Mhm.
When I put a question up on a forum, the first thing that someone said was Etsy. But from where you are right now, what advice would you have for someone who is just starting to put their foot in the water of selling actual prints online?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, first of all, congratulations. That's
Thank you.
huge.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome,
also
man.
the fact that's so awesome. And the fact that you were asked means that you have something special. So like even more, like that's a big deal. And so these are my thoughts, whether they're right or not. I do think Etsy is a great platform for long time, like for the long run, like a marathon kind of situation, but it's a learning curve. I would say lean into this local exposure that you have. I would even like reach out to the brewery and say, listen, I was so flattered and so excited, but then everything shut down. Would it be possible for me to show there again at some point when you reopen? Um, Lean into your local coffee shops, your local communities, and I would start there. I think like the whole like community aspect of boots on the ground marketing is a lost art. And it's especially right now, I think we're going to see when we come out of this that people are going to be so laser focused on their communities and helping out their neighborhoods and the people that they love, that I think that that's the best place that we can all be right now. And then get used to it, get your feet wet, start doing that, and then expand from there. That's what I would recommend.
All right. Sorry, my son Jasper wanted to say goodnight to everyone.
Oh, good night, baby.
That's
Good
funny.
night, Jasper.
All right.
Sweet dreams.
Thanks
So we have Ted, I think, said he's
Does
figured
that
out his
help,
mic issue.
Kevin, or did you do you
Yeah,
have
that-
any other questions, or is that helpful?
Well, as you said, the local tap room, they felt bad about what happened.
Yeah,
and they have definitely said, we want to do this again when all this is over. But yeah, the boots on the ground.
Yeah.
I need to start from the ground up on that one.
Yeah, and honestly, that's how I started my business, and I think it's the way to go.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to leverage the whatever social network you have. I mean, without having any kind of gallery or anything, I've sold landscape prints to friends who've just seen what I've posted on Instagram and asked me if they could buy something. So yeah, don't be afraid to use whatever connections and network you have.
I agree.
I think everybody's okay with some shameless self promotion these days. In fact, I think they're, like we were talking earlier, people are looking for ways to support each other.
Yeah, and they want to support people that they love. Just running outside to check on my dog. She's fine. Okay. But and like, I 100% agree. Like, use what you have. Keep it local.
Thank you for your advice. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think Ted got his mic situation squared away. So, Ted, go. The floor is yours.
I certainly hope it works. Can you hear me all right?
We can.
Splendid. Brilliant. Hi, Sandra. This is just a quick question, if I can. You've probably been asked it thousands of times before, so I'm sorry for that. More on the business side of things. So I'm not a kind of an established professional photographer as such, although I have tried to be over the years. So I have a full-time job, and that pays the bills, and everything is hunky-dory. But I've done a few weddings for kind of family and friends and things like that, 4 or 5 of them now over the last few years. And I always do them on film because that's what I like to do. And the arrangement I've always had with them is, if you pay my costs for the film and the development, I'll just do the wedding for free for the exposure and the portfolio development. The problem I have increasingly, though, is when you're trying to compete with other photographers who these days will often do a shoot for not a lot of money, for less than what it cost me to buy the film, let alone get it developed. In the earlier days when you were starting out, I'm curious to know how you overcame the financial hit of using film against all the other photographers that use digital.
Yeah, and honestly, that's still something I have, right? Because I shoot film exclusively in, the genre of newborns and family, and not a lot of people do. So I totally get that as a pain point. I think what happens is when you are offering to shoot people's wedding at cost, suddenly your competition are photographers who are charging a very low amount. And unfortunately, even though I think your heart's in the right place and I can totally see where you're coming from, you're going to attract that kind of client. I think if you have 4 or 5 weddings under your belt, you are certainly established enough to start charging. And so I would say, this sounds counterintuitive, but as soon as you up your rate and start charging people like a legitimate amount, you're going to find that those price shoppers start to go away. As weird as that sounds, but the more I charge, the less I get challenged on my pricing, because it's a value thing, whether right or not. It's that perceived value thing. So I would start there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. that certainly makes sense. I think the difficulty I have is, I'm a small fish in a pretty big pond, and it's trying to attract those first one or two kind of what I would call independent clients, so people that
But you've
aren't
already done it. You've already done it. You have the portfolio, so you don't have to worry about attracting those anymore. Just put it out there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say one more thing, Ted. Like, if you have a day job that's paying your bills, you literally have nothing to lose. So charge the money and see what happens. And my chances are what's going to happen is you're going to be blown away because somebody's going to pay you.
I think that's actually a good point. I see a lot of photographers who have day jobs or whatever say, I don't need the money. I don't need the money. So they just don't charge that much at all. And kind of like lowers the value for everyone. But yeah, if you don't need the money, why not ask for more?
Go for it. Yeah, just see what happens. That's your vacation money.
Yeah, for sure.
Very cool. Anybody else have another question?
I think Stanley's asking on chat because his mic isn't working.
Yeah, what did he say? Okay, so Stanley's question was, do you offer prints in your packages, or do you let them see the finished product and then let them order prints? So yeah, what's your print sale situation like?
I have this crazy pricing situation. You guys want to hear it?
Yeah.
So I don't, okay. I don't do a traditional in-person sale scenario. So I offer 3 albums of different sizes, that's it, and 3 print sizes, and that's it. And when people come in to see me, we do our session. We have a lovely time. And then at the end of that session, we sit down and I say, okay, awesome. Here are your choices for albums, and here are your choices for prints. The albums do include digital files. And so I just lay it out and then I say, what do you want to add to your order? And they say this, this, or this. And then we're done. And what I think is like kind of blows people's minds about this is that I shoot film, right? So none of us have seen their photos, myself included, when we do that ordering session. But it works for me because I have a really strong brand, and my work is super consistent. The look of my photos is super consistent. And so people trust that that's what they're going to get. And so that's why it works. And it's one of the reasons, I mean, not to, keep going there, but one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about teaching other photographers how to use light, because what I know is when light is the cornerstone of what you do in your job, being able to consistently produce it helps build your brand because your work is so consistent. It doesn't matter what time of day or season people come in, people know and trust that they're going to get that. And so it does help your sales. And I think that's why I'm able to do this completely wacky sales method that shouldn't work, but that works great for me. So that's what I do.
So do you pick
a lot of times, yeah, I do pick. So I always ask them, and I should say that my clients, as a part of their sitting fee, get a set of proof prints, and I have them printed at Richard Photo Lab. I just want them to be able to see what beautiful printing looks like. And so everybody gets a set of proof prints, but most of my clients, like 98%, will add either an album or a print. For the albums, we give them the option. Do you want to choose your photos or do you want us to do them? And most everybody says, I want you to do them. So we're like, okay. And so, yeah, so my assistant then goes in and just designs an album. We send a preview. They get 2 edits, so they can make 2 changes. And then, and then we just have them printed off. We print through Miller's, and then we have them shipped to their home. But it works really great for my clients because they're super busy. Seattle traffic is awful. And that way they just come in once, they get everything done, and everything else just gets mailed directly to them.
Right. I think
so. That's how I do it.
I mean, there's a lot to be said for that confidence, and I think that even speaks to Ted's question too about like, how do you get that work? You start, you know what you're capable of. Don't be afraid to ask for it. Ask for what you're worth. And
Yeah.
I mean, I struggle with that myself. Even I'm preaching to the choir, but when it comes
We
to
all
my own
struggle with
prices,
that. I freak out every time I like raise my prices, and I've been doing this for 21 years. We all struggle with that.
okay, cool. I
Also,
feel
like,
better.
also like what I always have to tell myself is like, don't make decisions for your clients. Like I might be uncomfortable spending that kind of money, but that doesn't mean they are. And so I just have learned, and Sue Bryce, I don't know if you're familiar with Sue Bryce, but she's brilliant and such a smart woman. But she always is like, I tell them my pricing and then I stop talking. She's like, because if I keep talking, I'm going to talk them out of it because it's absurd. But I just tell them my pricing and I shut my mouth. Like, that's the way to do it.
It's so worthwhile. I mean, like I booked my highest dollar value wedding ever for this fall just because I offered it to them.
Yeah.
And they came to me with like their budget was like $1,000 less than the package they went with, but I gave them the choice and I didn't try to talk them out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll surprise you. Just put it out there.
I think Sam had a question. So, Sam. Sam, are you there?
Sam, we're not getting your audio, man.
Hold on a second. Oh, mute is off.
Hold on. Try it. He's muted again now.
Maybe he can type it in.
Yeah, sorry, Sam, we're not getting your audio. Maybe check your input on your computer, or if you can type in your question.
So while we're waiting on that, so Sandra, while we're waiting on Sam to question, where can we find you on social media and all that?
Oh, in all the usual places, right? You can find me on the gram at Sandra Coan, and Coan is spelled Coan. I do have a Facebook group for photographers called Beyond Natural Light Photography. You can find me there. It's a really fun, active group, and I do a lot of teaching inside of there. And then right now, for this insane time we're in, I have a pop-up group going called Empowered. And if you can't find it, send me a DM and I'll send you the link. But I'm doing a week's worth of business lessons. Like I'm coming in and we're going to talk about, I'm calling it how to be seen, how to be remembered, and how to be consistent. And so I'm going to go into like super nerdy stuff, but talking about website optimization, blogging for SEO, consistency, building content calendars, all the things, because I want you all to come out of this situation stronger than you were when you went into it.
So what is that? That's on Facebook. Where do you?
Yeah.
I want to look it up now. What's it
Like,
called?
so if you can't find it on Facebook, send me a DM. But it's called Empowered, and it's a little pop-up Facebook group that I'm doing the free lessons in, or my big group, and there's like I think almost 4,000 photographers in the big group. It's called, like, I'm looking it up right now to make sure I'm saying it right. Honestly, they're my groups. What is wrong with me? But the big one is called Beyond Natural Light Photography, and it says hosted by Sandra Coan. So I put my name in there. So even if you go into Facebook and search Sandra Coan, you should be able to find at least the big one. And then I have a link in that to the pop-up one. And the only reason I'm not doing these lessons in the big one is because in a group that size, I'm afraid they're going to get lost on people. Not everybody's going to see them. And I want to make sure that it's really people who feel like they really want to get in and use this time to do the work on their business. And honestly, not everybody does. And that's fine too. There's no right or wrong way to feel right now. And that's okay. But if you want to do the work and you want to hear what I have to say about it, yeah, definitely join the community. And then, of course, follow me on the gram because that's fun. I'm going to be trying to do some behind the scenes of doing my lighting setup in home during this quarantine situation. I even busted out my flash last night, you guys, and took it outside. Like, I never do that. I know. I was trying to take pictures of my chickens. They were not cooperating. But just like trying to balance like, ambient light, sunset light with flash in a way that doesn't look disgusting. So, somebody just
So-
pre-ordered my book. Thank you.
So I have to ask real quick. I know we've got Sam's question here too, which was awesome. And no worries about the audio, man. We're all figuring this out.
Yeah.
So without being able to, because what you do with photographing like children and newborns is so close quarters and basically everything we're not supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah.
What are you doing to photograph? And I guess you're photographing your chickens.
Yeah. I mean, my family's like, hell no, like they're so over me taking their picture. So it's basically going to be pictures of like my chickens and my dog. So one of my goals, so my son Harvey had this great idea when we first heard that they were canceling schools for 6 weeks. He was like, "You all need to learn a new skill." He's like, "I'm going to learn how to use chopsticks," which I thought was such a great response.
Your
And
son
so we all
sounds
committed.
awesome.
He's actually super cool, but so we all have committed to learning a new skill. And one of the skills I'm learning is perfecting my tiki cocktail game, which P.S. my husband's actually the one making the tiki cocktails. But by we, I always mean him. But anyway, so we're really working on it. So I'm hoping to not only perfect my cocktail making skills, but to, create some really beautifully lit cocktail photos that may or may not include a recipe. So I have this whole thing going that's going to be happening here on quarantine in my mind. But yeah, there won't be probably many pictures of babies coming up for the next couple weeks. But that's okay because I'm anticipating a really big baby boom in about 9 to 10 months. So
There you
it's going
go.
to be fine.
Okay, so
Business will be good.
yes.
Yes, exactly. Oh, speak of the devil. Thank you.
So Sam's question was, what is the first big hurdle you got over when starting to shoot on film with Flash? I'm just starting with Flash on film.
Yeah. So film and digital, as we all know, they handle light different. They have a different exposure latitude. And so where I kept going wrong was that I was treating my film as if it were a digital sensor. And because I was the classic where like, oh, I don't need to meter, I'll just get it right on my digital camera and plug in those same settings, which is like actually the worst thing you can do. So my advice is make sure you're metering, meter. And other than that, I mean, once you get your metering down, it really is just like working with a big window.
What kind of meter are you using, or do you recommend for somebody who's just getting started in off-camera light?
Sure. So I just have an old Sekonic L358 that I got, I think, in 2002. Same meter. I mean, it's the classic. It's really good. But basically, any meter will work as long as it has a flash setting and an incident. It's an incident meter with a flash setting, and you should be fine.
Awesome. I think Stanley, you had a question, and you said you got your mic going. We can't hear you, man. I'm sorry.
Really?
No.
I think he's running into the same problems that I ran into.
All right, man. We got you. Type it out. We'll get the question out there. Is there anyone else in the?
I got a question.
Please go ahead.
It's Bill Smith from the Classic Camera Vibe. Who influenced you with your lighting style?
Gosh, that's a good question. For the real studio stuff, of course, like the classics, right? Like Irving Penn and Richard Avedon. I've always loved that really beautiful black and white classic, just one light, 45-degree kind of style of lighting. I think is beautiful. The light that I've come to be known for, that's that really light and airy, bright studio look. Honestly, I was just inspired by my window light for that. Like that whole look came out of me wanting consistency in my work as somebody who lives and works in Seattle, Washington, and wanting to create something that looked like the light I would get on a perfect day with my windows.
I've got
so that's yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, so like I kind of feel like that light was just inspired, honestly, by my eyeballs, I guess.
There you go. I got a name of a
to be
classic
curious.
portrait photographer for you, just to go down a real deep rabbit hole with.
Oh yes, please.
Joseph Karsh.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Joseph.
so good.
Oh, I'm so excited.
He is the Grand Master. He has shot Winston Churchill, the grumpy Winston Churchill, and there's a story behind that.
Yep.
He had 10 minutes to take the shot. Churchill was visiting Canada, and Karsh, to get him in that grumpy mood, he snatched away his cigar.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, he's plucked it out of his mouth.
Yeah, if you want to go down a deep rabbit hole, look at Karsh's work. He has photographed everybody who mattered in the mid to late 20th century.
Oh, I'm totally gonna do it. How do you spell the last name?
Karsh.
Karsh. Okay.
His estate recently started an Instagram for him too, so he's on the socials, which
He's on the social. Oh, that's I
right.
love that. Oh, that'll be fun.
And he shot 8x10.
Oh wow. I would love to do that. Maybe that'll be one of my quarantine projects.
There you go. Get yourself some 4x5 Ektachrome and shoot some of that.
Right.
So on the line of the social and Instagrams and all that, Stanley was wondering, Sandra, do you manage all of your social stuff, or is that something that you do? So okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do my social. I feel like it's really important for me to talk to my people. One thing that you'll learn about me if you become part of my community is I like fiercely love my people. And so I respond to my own emails. I do my own social. I'm the one in there talking in my groups. That part's really important to me. I do have assistants that help me with so much stuff. Like I have an assistant to help me with my studio side. I have 2 assistants that help me with my education side. So that is also really important, but I like talking to my people.
Awesome. If let's see, Anna, did you want to talk, or do you want me to just ask your question? Anna, you're welcome to. Oh, ask please. Okay, sure.
Ask please, yeah.
So she would like to know about the cameras that you use and why they're your favorites or your go-tos. She said she saw a Rolleiflex on your Instagram recently.
Yeah, so I shoot a Hasselblad H2 and a Rolleiflex, and those are my go-to. Of course, I have all the cameras, right? I have the Contax and I have the Pentax 6.7 and I have like a little collection. But I love the Hasselblad H2 when I'm working with families, just because it's fast, especially with little kids. I need that, and by fast I mean fast for a film camera. I shot when I was at WPPI. I was shooting with my digital camera, and it was so weird because I was like, "Oh my god, I just took like 1,000 pictures. Like, what happened?" It was nuts. But and then the Rolleiflex, I just love that camera. I feel like it just helps me connect to my people in such a different way. I love the way the images look. I love the feel of it. I love the novelty of it. Like I get that camera up on a tripod, and like even like a 2-year-old will be like, "What the hell is that?" and like stare right at it. It's nothing. It's like nothing they've ever seen before, right? And so I get the most amazing portraits of people, and then I can also just get it set up, focus it, and then just talk. And so I feel like I get really authentic portraits using that camera for that reason, just because it's offsetting, I guess.
There you go, Alex.
To people.
Yeah. It's funny. When we were talking to someone, Sandra, at WPPI, and somebody was asking about the Rolleiflex that we were showing with KH camera, and he said, "Well, actually, mine was shot with a Rolleiflex right up there, and it was your picture on a giant banner." Black and white. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool!"
Nice.
Yeah. And didn't those look amazing? Can we just talk about that for a minute? So, those of you who haven't been to WPPI, they have these giant banners over the aisles that are gigantic. How big would you say that is? 20 feet?
Oh, at least, yeah.
Huge. And those were printed off of my scans, my medium scans that I get from Richard Photolab. and they looked incredible,
Yeah.
didn't they? I was blown away. And that roll effect was beautiful that you were showing. So fun.
Michael, for sure. That's they've got some very expensive, shiny, wonderful cameras.
Yeah.
And hey, just if anybody's interested or hasn't been keeping up, just to say for the sake of KEH Camera, they're not doing a lot of any in-person events around the country right now, but you can still mail gear off to sell them if you have anything that you're trying to trade in right now. And I know they're looking for some ways, hopefully moving forward here soon, to get more involved with the socially distant community. But yeah, they're still taking in for buying and selling. So don't feel like if you need a little extra cash or have like a gear or you're cleaning out a room, like I found a random medium format lens for a system I don't even own in a closet. So I'm gonna get some film money from KH for that. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's a good idea. I should go look. Oh, there's a question about Portra 400. Actually, my go-to film is Portra 800. That's what I shoot almost exclusively in the studio, even though I use studio lighting.
Do you shoot it at 800 meter?
I do. I always shoot my film at box speed.
that's a good point, Alex. The community isn't socially distant, just physically distant. Socially, we're just fine. I mean, awkwardly, on the other hand, that's exactly. That doesn't need any comment.
Well, cool. Well, Sandra,
it was real nice to just find a lens lying around, Stanley. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think that'll happen again. My closet's not that big. Again, but the offer for however many rolls of toilet paper I can get for Bill's Pentax 6-7 is still on the table.
Feels like stop.
Well, Sandra,
all right. Can anybody do better than 2?
Oh boy. All right, so we're gonna go ahead. Well, geez, look what you've done.
You better nip that in the bud right now.
For real. It's not my camera. I would feel so bad, but also I have a wife and child to think about. I might need that toilet paper. Bill, we can get you a new camera.
All right. So you won't take this one away from me. So.
Okay, that's fine.
Anyway, so Sandra, we'll go ahead and wrap it up with the interview. Sandra, thank you so much for taking time and sharing some wisdom and some positivity with the group. We have learned so much, and I just read Michael Giles is throwing in some diapers, so I'm going to go ahead and close it on that bombshell. All right, guys. Well, that wraps it up for this episode. So thank you again for everybody to hang out. Please stick around. We'll do an open mic where we can just all talk about ridiculousness. But that'll be off the record. Recording. It will be. So,
well, thank you guys so much for having me. I had so much fun. And as always, you know me, I'm such a talker. So thanks for letting me go.
No, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, seriously.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you too.
All right, guys. Well, that wraps it up for this episode. So you can find Studio C41 on our website, studio.c41.net. You can find us on our Instagram, studio.c41. And on TikTok, we just set one up. I haven't put any videos up there yet, but we're working on something.
What was some rumors about a MySpace?
There is a MySpace Easter egg. So if you can find,
I finally got it.
Studio C41. Do the floss. I don't know what the floss is. So we'll wrap it up.
Getting hip. Is the floss hip anymore? I feel like that's in the same realm of dabbing now.
No, Bill's gonna bring it back.
Okay.
Bring it back.
All right, guys. We'll wrap it up with that. And until the next episode, eat some film.
Dang it!
Dang it!
Yes.